those of us who maybe forgot what it was like to live in 2009 or who weren't grown adults in 2009, there's a lot of voicemail going on. There's a lot of leaving messages on each other's phone, which, scary. Hey guys, it's Briar of Briar Chats and welcome back to my channel. If you like honest opinions, trash talking, and the occasional dad joke, stick around because I think we'll get along. Now in today's video, I wanted to chat to you guys about a movie, nay, a cinematic masterpiece that absolutely shaped my prefrontal cortex. And that is the 2009 classic, He's Just Not That Into You. Now I had kind of been wanting to make a video about this movie for a while, and then me and my boyfriend actually re-watched the movie, and it just really solidified to me that this is in fact a cinematic masterpiece, and I simply have to chat to you guys about it because yeah, she is that girl, she is that bee, she did make me the girly pop that I am today, and so we simply have to talk about it. So if you guys just want to sit around and chat about the movie He's Just Not That Into You, stick around and let's get into it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger, there were movies that we owned on DVD. Yeah, I am aging myself, don't even worry about it, but there were some movies that we owned on DVD that I rewatched as if my life depended on it. Like, there are some movies that I just watched an absurd amount of times, and He's Just Not That Into You is definitely one of those movies. I do not know exactly what they put in this movie besides a star-studded cast, absolutely slayed direction and production, but I was hooked. And not only that, but I thought that this movie gave me the secret to life, the secret to boys, the secret to relationships. I was set up to succeed in the real world because I had watched this movie too many times to count. So, before we get into the story and plot and everything slay that happens in this movie, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of backstory that I found out about this movie because it actually is quite fascinating to me, and I'm sure you guys will feel the same. So, what little Briar did not know back then is that this movie is based on a book. And I know you're like, okay, sure, like lots of movies are based on a book. Did I look like I was finished? No, I'm not finished. Okay, so it was based on a self-help book by the same title that was written by two of the writers from Sex and the City. And so that whole book, and therefore this whole movie, was actually inspired by a Sex and the City episode. Which episode? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked. I'm not sure the name of the exact episode, but it is an episode where Carrie is at the time dating Burger. Burger tells Miranda, basically breaks the news to Miranda that a guy is not sleeping with her because he's not into her. The whole concept and the whole ideification of it all came from that storyline in Sex and the City. Like, the butterfly effect is so real, guys, like you can't even imagine. And I know what you're thinking. Are Sex and the City writers qualified to be writing a self-help book? Well, apparently yes, because it turned into a very successful book and also a very successful movie. Now, the other thing that I wanted to quickly look into before we got into the movie was who made the movie, because I was actually under the impression or wondering if it was kind of the same team that did, you know, the Valentine's Days, the New Year's Eves, the Love Actuallys, if I was any kind of correlation between those movies, but I could not find that. Nay, but what I did find was something actually even more interesting. Now, a lot of the people that have worked on this movie worked on movies such as The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but a lot of them worked with my Lord and Savior, Hilary Duff, and on movies such as The Perfect Man, another cinematic masterpiece with an actor from Sex and the City. Like, wow. And if you like this video, maybe we can do the same thing for The Perfect Man, because that was another movie we owned on DVD that I was literally obsessed with. But the last thing that I found very interesting was the director of this movie, Ken Kwapis, actually worked and was like pivotal in the creation of The Office. And this is interesting and exciting because there are elements throughout this movie that have a mockumentary feel to it, and don't worry, we'll get into it when we get into it. But I just feel like knowing that, like all the information that I have now, makes me understand and appreciate this movie as a 20-something-year-old girly pop even more than I did back then. So now that I have made you guys acquainted with the background of this movie, let's simply get into this chaotic and unhinged recap and retelling of the cinematic masterpiece that is He's Just Not That Into You. Now, to set the scene, this movie is shot in Baltimore. I don't feel like the Baltimore, Maryland location seems that important, but it doesn't seem to play a huge role, but that is where it's set. And all of the besties that you are going to be meeting are meant to be kind of in their 20s and 30s, and they're just trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out their personal and romantic relationships. Now, like I said before, this is a multi-character storyline type of a movie. It is Love Actually coded. It is New Year's Eve and Valentine's Day coded, where we are following not one protagonist, but many protagonists and a couple of antagonists in there too. And like in those movies as well, the people all intertwine. Like, it's a small world after all. Everyone's kind of connected whether or not they know it. However, we do have like a main girly pop. At the end of the day, this is Gigi's world and we are just living in it because she is our main protagonist girly pop bestie. And she is also our narrator, and she is also played by Jennifer Goodwin. Like I said, star-studded cast, you love to see it. So we start the movie with Gigi narrating, and she is talking about how you will simply never forget about your first crush, about the first time you have a crush on a boy.
Even if things don't quite work out.
Because as she is narrating, there is a little girl making a cute little sandcastle, and a boy literally pushes her over, and she, obviously, like very valid and fair of her, starts crying and asks why. And then he says this masterpiece of a line.
Because you smell like dog poo.
You're so stupid, just like dog poo. You're made out of poo. I don't know if there's this like anti-dog poo agenda happening, but it's very poignant and specific. And this kid, he doesn't like her or dog poo. So little Gigi, flashback Gigi, runs to her mum and is crying and is like, made of dog poo. You know when you can't really talk because you're still crying? It was one of those situations. And her mum gives the advice that I'm sure many of us have received as a young one. And that is, do you know why that little boy pushed you over? Because he likes you. And oh my gosh, I think that little kid needed an Oscar, because the confusion that goes over her cute little face when she's told that this boy was mean to her because he likes her. Oh, chef's kiss. It was perfect. Like, even I could not create such a confused face as a fully grown adult. Like, it was just the perfect reaction to such an absurd statement, because yeah, probably that little kid just is on the anti-dog poo agenda and he doesn't like her and he's just a meanie bombini. For some reason now she's been told that he likes her. And then we're introduced to the concept of the movie and the title of the movie, He's Just Not That Into You, where we have a montage of girl besties, of gal pals hanging around, comforting a friend who is crying over a boy who ain't shit. We have a montage of besties comforting that friend, saying all of these reasons why he didn't call her, why he isn't pursuing her. From things like he's never been in a serious relationship, he just got out of a serious relationship, everything that you could think of except the title of the movie. Now we cut to present day Gigi, who is on a date with another one of our main character besties, and his name is Connor. Now the TLDR about Connor is that he is a cheesy real estate agent and he's trying to make a name for himself. So they are on a drinks date. Gigi feels like it's going well. He suggests getting another round of drinks and she is like, freaking nailed it. They walk away from each other at the end of the day and she's like, she has a flip phone, like it's 2009. She's like, hey bestie, I think he's leaving a message on my answering machine right as we speak. We'll find out very quickly that this is very dated and it's very 2009 coded, but we simply cannot judge it for that. We have to accept it. And unfortunately, Gigi's confidence is misplaced, because instead of leaving a voice message for her saying how great and slay she was on the date, Connor is actually calling another one of our characters, Anna, played by Scarlett Johansson. And let's just say Scarlett Johansson made a choice when she chose to do Anna, because I can never fully trust her ever again because of this character. Okay, so basically the TLDR on Connor is that he is a simp for Anna. And I mean, Scarlett Johansson, who wouldn't be? But he instead, right after being on a date with Gigi, the gorgeous Gigi, he calls Anna and he's like, hey, want to grab a late bite to eat? Yeah, if there's one thing you need to know about Connor, yeah, he's obsessed and in love with Anna. However, Scarlett Johansson does not feel the same way back. She's like, oh, I'm just sorry, I'm just so fried. Like, she says that a lot. She's like, I'm so fried, oh my god, I can't. She's in the supermarket and she's just like, oh my god, bestie, sorry, I can't, I'm so fried. I just, no late bites to eat for me with you, thank you. And I know it's gonna feel like a lot at once. I will be putting pictures, obviously, but you gotta keep up because we're meeting a lot of besties very quickly. So keep up because it's all important and it will be on the test. So basically Anna is like, no. And simultaneously she is getting into a line at a supermarket where we meet another character played by Bradley Cooper, who I also have trust issues with now because of this movie, who in this movie is called Ben. And Ben says to Anna, you go first. I'm still mulling over this gum purchase. And so Anna's like, okay, fine, I will. And then guess what? You guys will never believe it. She is the 1,000th customer at the supermarket. So she won the Funky Fall promotion. Yeah, so she won, I don't know, a chili bin and some stuff. But for Anna, this is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to her. Is that lame? No, of course not. And so it kind of gets a conversation sparking between Anna and Ben. Anyway, we don't have time to think about it too much because we cut back to Connor, who is arriving home. And now prepare yourself because what I'm about to say is very 2009 coded, okay? So he arrives home and his bestie, Justin Long, who plays Alex in this movie, is sitting on his couch. And he's like, hey bestie, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, my cable was out. Wait. And then Connor is like, oh, I need to check my answering machine. Did I get any voice messages? Like, oh my god, like sometimes it's so stressful and jarring how 2009 this movie is because you just forget how much has changed. Like it feels like yesterday, but also a lifetime ago. But anyway, Connor is freaking out about the fact that Anna didn't want to have a bite to eat with him, and she said she'd call him right back 22 minutes ago, and she still hasn't called back. So on a Saturday night at 9:30 p.m, Connor's like, don't even worry about it. I have a bright idea, Alex. Don't even worry, bestie. I'm just going to call her back and tell her not to call me back because I'm going to bed. Yeah, as you'll see, we have some very unslay behavior from a few of our characters because they are in unrequited love ships. They feel things for people that don't feel it back, and it makes them so very needy. Why so needy? It makes them Ariana Grande needy. Another thing to note about this movie, unlike the Love Actually, where they slowly reveal the character connections, this movie's just like, boom, here's how they're connected. Like, it's very quick in the beginning. Like, I feel like this movie is very quick in the beginning and at the end. And then a lot happens in the middle, but a lot slower. So don't worry, you will get to breathe once you've met all the besties and a couple of the worsties. But for now, it will feel like a lot. The way that this movie also likes to transition through phone calls and through ringing. So we transition from Connor and Alex to Connor calling Anna, who's talking to Ben, but she sends him to voice message because she's like, no, I don't want to talk to you right now, and also I'm flirting with Ben. And so they're having a cutesy little chat where she's kind of like trauma dumping on him. She doesn't want to be like her mother and not chase her dreams. And then Ben lets her know that, hey, I mean, they never really explain what Ben does for a living, but somehow he has connections in the music industry. So he's like, well, I know some guys in my office that work with music and can help you out. And so she's like, oh my god, that's so slay, yay. And she's like, I'll give you my number so that we can chat more. And you know, hang out more. And then as she's writing down her number, he's like, it's like his conscience catches up to him. Like it was suppressed by his impure thoughts. And then he's like, I can't do this. I'm married. Criminal offensive side-eye, Ben. White man. And so Anna, mildly deterred but not too deterred, is like, well, why don't you just give me your business card? That's professional. And he's like, yeah, I can do that. That's legit. I can help you. And so he gives her her business card. They say thank you and they part ways. Ben gets into his bestie's car. I don't know why his bestie didn't go in the shops with him, but I digress. And guess who his bestie is? Ben Affleck, which is kind of confusing because Bradley Cooper plays a character called Ben, but Ben Affleck plays a character called Neil. I don't know why they called him Neil. Honestly, it gives me bleh. If he wasn't a good character, bleh. So Neil is giving him a little bit of a criminal offensive side eye. When he gets in the car, he's like,
bombastic side eye.
I'm not stupid. I can see what Scarlett Johansson, aka Anna, looks like. And he's like, it's not what it looks like, just drive. Now, if this was an alternate universe, this is very slay for Neil because he is in a relationship with one of my favorite actresses of all time, Jennifer Aniston, who plays a character called Beth. And we stan Beth. She is number one. Like, Beth is one of our besties. We love Beth in this movie. And Neil and Beth are in a relationship. We find out that they've been in a relationship for 7 years because when Neil gets home, Beth announces to him that her younger, for the besties in the back, her younger sister's just gotten engaged and is going to get married. And then she's like, do you think that maybe we're going against the laws of nature by not getting married? And Neil's like, oh, don't you worry, I got this one. Turn it up. And then he goes on this weird spiel about how you don't get friendship certificates. It's going against nature. Like, I don't trust people that are married. Okay, Neil. This is definitely Neil's fatal flaw, is that he gaslights Beth about the fact that getting married is so weird. And it's very clear like they're both in good jobs and they have like a nice apartment that they could definitely afford to get married. So it's just like, do you think you could do better than Jennifer Aniston? I mean, Beth? I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway, so he diverts, distracts, gaslight gatekeeps and girl bosses to fight another day. Now, for those of us who maybe forgot what it was like to live in 2009 or who weren't grown adults in 2009, there's a lot of voicemail going on. There's a lot of leaving messages on each other's phone, which, scary. Like if someone left me a voicemail now, I'd be kind of annoyed. Why would you do that? Why don't you just text me? Like, it seems like no one texts in this movie. It's very voicemail centric. So anyway, we're back with our bestie Gigi, who hasn't gotten a call from Connor, shockingly. I mean, was the date the best date of her life? No. But is she going to obsess over every second of it? Why, yes. So Gigi is obsessing, and then we meet one of Gigi's colleagues, co-workers and besties, Janine. We stan Janine. She is very type A, but also very type slay. And Janine is trying to comfort her. She's like, he'll call. Don't you worry about it. Like they're going over every aspect of it. They're dissecting this date as if it's year 12 science class. That's fine, whatever. But Janine's giving her the spiel that is recurring throughout the movie. That is, he's gonna call. It's not that he couldn't be into you. I'm sure there's many a reason. And she references the fact that Ben, who she's married to, let that marinate for a second, he didn't call her for 11 days. And now he's like the world's best husband. So don't worry, he'll call. Now remember when I said the director of this movie also was a part of creating The Office? Well, yeah, this is why it's important, and these are the little mockumentary little bits that we get throughout the movie. We have these kind of chapter breakers where we're kind of maybe referencing back to the book of these bigger pivotal questions, why he's not calling you, why he's not sleeping with you. And we have a kind of interview style with people on the street, but they're actually like hilarious comedians, as to giving advice. And this is a very fun way, I feel like, to break up kind of the parts of the movie, because it is a long movie. It's over 2 hours long. but it's a blast. When you know about his office experience, like, it makes so much more sense watching this movie now, because the movie itself doesn't have that mockumentary feel until like the very end and these little parts, but it's like a cute nod and it's a little fun. It's a little something different. It's a little spice to that. This movie is very overt in showing how everyone is connected. And so this is where we find out that Gigi, Janine, and Beth all work at the same place, New Colony Spice. I've watched this movie a lot of times. Can I tell you what New Colony Spice is? No, I have no idea. I feel like it's a spice-based newsletter or magazine, but like that is so chaotic and random. It feels like everyone's job is, you have the understanding of adults' jobs when you are a teenager or a child. Like none of it seems real. Like none of it fully makes sense. Yes, Connor is a real estate agent. And like as a kid, you're like, oh yeah, I know what that is. If someone works in advertising or at a magazine, you're like, but what do they really do? I don't know. Irregardless, we find out that Beth, Janine, and Gigi all work together at this place. And we do get some references to writing about spices. Like Beth, for example, is like, excuse me, I need some help. How am I supposed to come up with something pithy and dynamic about cinnamon blends? I don't know, Beth. I'm just a 20-something-year-old teenage girl. Like, I simply could not answer that. Like, that is such a scary sentence. Like, that's your job? Pithy and dynamic about cinnamon blends? That is scary. And then Gigi's like, I just can't even think about nutmeg right now when maybe the potential man of my dreams isn't calling me back. I want you to call me back. And we're starting to get the unraveling of Gigi. And we're starting to see maybe this is how Gigi, so it goes for Gigi. So it goes. The more time that goes on, the more like silly and goofy her ideas get. Because she's like, I was kind of thinking like maybe I should just do a drive-by of the pub that he says he goes to a lot. And Janine's like, don't do that. I don't think we should do that. But of course, Gigi unravels further later that night when she's at home, sitting literally by her landline. It's very chaotic and 2009 coded for me. And then she goes to pick up the landline and it's unplugged. Like that is so scary. Your landline's unplugged and then people can't call you. It seems like a fatal flaw. I'm not surprised we don't use them anymore. And so then she's like, oh my gosh, that's like the straw that broke Gigi's back. And she calls Janine. I guess it's on like one of those speakery voice messagey things because she's like, pick up if you think it's a bad idea if I go by the pub. I'm taking your silence as compliance. And then she gaps it, like she books it out the door to go to the pub. Now, as we already know, Connor has a bestie, Alex, who was sitting in his apartment when he got back from his date with Gigi. Alex actually is the manager of the pub/bar that Connor had told Gigi about. We then go over to hang out with our bestie Alex, who is chatting with Busy Phillips, who plays Kelly Ann. And for some reason, Alex, played by Justin Long, is acting like he doesn't have eyes because Kelly Ann is maybe we should have a drink or hang out after work again. And he's like, no. And you're just like, are you seeing what I'm seeing, B1? I think I am B2. Like, it's bizarre. Like, you're just like, okay, are we just going to pretend like Busy Phillips isn't stunning? Okay, cool. So he rejects Kellyanne and he's like, look, I know that you think that it's like fate that we're on the same shift, but it's because we work at the same place and tonight's a busy night and it's so busy, in fact, that I have to go work the bar. Important. Kellyanne leaves deflated and then we cut to Gigi entering the bar where Alex is manning it. Gigi can't keep things to herself. That's one thing you need to know, is that she's little Miss say and do anything. So she's like, oh yeah, I'm actually meeting Connor here tonight. And as we know, Alex is besties with Connor. So he's like, oh, he's not meant to be coming here tonight. Do you want me to call him? And then she's like, oh, no. When I say meeting, like, that's such a crazy way of me to say it. It was more just that, you know, he said that he likes to come here and I thought I'd just stop by because he left his pen, his dentist pen. This is important and it will be on the test. She's like, look, I don't want to judge if something is not important to someone. Alex goes in for the kill. He's like, that's so weird because it's not even his dentist. And she's like, oh yeah, how do you know? And he's like, because my dad is his dentist. And it's like, whoom. Gigi comes back. Like, she was never drunk, but now she's really sober. And she realizes that she's made a fool out of herself. Absolute fool. But Alex is like, no, don't go, stay. We can have a drink. Like, come on. Don't run away. It's fine. And then we have the starting of a dynamic that we have between Gigi and Alex. And that is that Alex will give Gigi the most brutal, blunt, but honest, to be fair, advice about men and dating. And he tells her, look, Connor isn't going to call you. I hate to tell you, but he's not. And she's like, well, you don't know that. Like, well, like gives all these reasons as to why. All the reasons all the besties give, you know. What if he's been busy out of town? Like his grandma's been sick. And he's like, no, if he wanted to call you, he'd call you. And he hasn't, so he doesn't. Like, he's just not that into you. And then she's like, well, because that's funny, because actually I had a friend who didn't call somebody, and she starts to go on a spiel about a friend of a friend who knows a friend who didn't get called by a guy, and then, you know, ages later did. And he's like, your friend's an idiot. But also, she's the exception. And this is when we learn the pivotal piece of information that carries throughout the movie, but also little Briar watching this back in 2009 thought was the most iconic and slay piece of advice I could have ever gotten. Because he says this, those stories are the exception. However, most people are the rule. And the rule is if a guy isn't calling you, it's because he doesn't like you. And then she's like, huh, well, thank you for your honesty, I guess. You've given me a lot to consider. And then she comes in to the new spice colony or whatever it's called, crazy with bits of muffin in her ear for some reason. And she's like, Beth, Janine, I figured it out. And she starts telling them the story about her findings with guys and what Alex had told her and what it all means.
Exhibit A,
Chad, the drummer who lived in a storage space. He only used me for rides, and yet I continued to stalk him for most of 1998. She starts to list all of the guys she dated and all of these stories that her friends told about how the guys she dated weren't actually pieces of crap. And they would turn around because they knew a friend who knew a friend who knew a friend who dated a piece of crap just like hers. And then they turned out to be great. But then Beth gets it because she's like, so the rule is there are guys like Neil who are with girls like me for 7 years and aren't married. They're never getting married.
No. No.
Everybody say come. What's the procedure? Everybody say come. What's the procedure? Everybody say come. Immediate backtrack. Janine and Gigi are on serious damage control. They're like, oh my gosh, no, she was talking about her specifically and the guy. No, not Neil. No. Chaos. But the damage has been done. Now we cut to our worstie, Anna, who is friends with Drew Barrymore, aka Mary. Now, look, I don't really care for Drew Barrymore's character, Mary. I kind of forget that she exists until I watch the movie every time. She's kind of just used like to help other people's stories move along. Like it's like, I guess we have to give Anna a friend. You'll get it. But so basically, Anna is telling Mary about how she met this guy and he's so amazing, but why is he married? And then Mary spins the fat yarn. She's like, well, my dad told me this story about a guy that he worked with and how he was married for 15 years to a nice lady. However, one night he meets a woman and he just knows that that is the woman of his dreams. And so he leaves his wife and he's been with that woman ever since. Some BS right there. But anyway, she's like, what are you supposed to do if you meet the love of your life but you're already married? That is a very chaotic statement to make and I just do not have time to go into it further. But so basically it convinces Anna to call Ben. So she's like, hey, I was just taking you up on your offer. Like maybe we could go for coffee and you could tell me about your contacts in the music industry. And Ben's like, I can't. He just can't. I just can't, Anna. And he gets a bleh. And you're like, okay, good. Shut it down. Ben, shut her down. But unfortunately, this leads Anna into another toxic cycle, which is going to Connor every time she needs an ego boost. Because what's a girl to do when she needs an ego boost? She goes to a guy that's obsessed with her to give her compliments. That's Anna's favorite thing to do. So he's basically giving her massages and she's like, they play this 4 categories game, which is, okay, so the categories are, you can be smart, sexy, funny, or cute. But you can only be 2 categories. And Connor is smart and cute. And he's like, well, you're sexy, very sexy, and cute. And she's like, "Aw, no one wants to be all look." But he's basically gassing her up, saying that she's hot stuff. And she's like, "Oh my God, thank you. My ego is reinflated." And then she's like, "Oh, I'm so beat, but I just gotta go. Thanks, you're the best." And leaves. She's gotten what she's wanted. She's feeling better about herself, and now she can go on her merry way. Now, when Beth arrives home that evening, Neil is hanging up a deflated boob painting. And she says, "No, don't do that. I don't want you to do anything nice for me anymore unless you're gonna marry me afterwards." And he's like, "What? But can't you just believe that I mean it when I say I don't believe in marriage?" She's like, "Bullshit, bullshit. Bullshit for every woman ever who gets told that." And then a few months later, he remarries some 26-year-old that he met at a gym. Bullshit. And then Neil's like, I can't get married. And then Beth's like, "Well, I can't do this." And so they break up. It's quite sad because aside from this fatal flaw, you do quite stand them as a couple. Like, they seem like the least problematic characters. I mean, Beth is completely unproblematic, I would say, but unfortunately this is the journey they have to go on. So after that sad breakup, we have a little mockumentary style interview where we have two besties sitting on a park bench talking about how men always convince you that breaking up is their idea. They Jedi mind trick you. They will trick you into thinking that it was your idea to break up, but they really wanted to get out of the relationship. And basically, grab that ribs and ice cream because you have been dumped. Now, unfortunately, things are only getting worse and worse because we cut back to Ben leaving Anna a voice message again with the voice messages. And he's like, "Yeah, no, I said I'd help you, so I'm calling. Like, I know it's been a while." And then right as he hangs up on this little silly, goofy voice message, Janine comes up behind him and he's like, "Ah, what are you doing here in our house?" And she's like, "Are you smoking again? This is important. This will also be on the test. You get a little jumpy when you smoke." And he's like, "No, babe, I made a promise. Duh, I'm not smoking. I was just trying to see how I could picture this room, but I couldn't." And she was like, "Well, why don't we keep it neutral, like a yellow, so that we can make it an office or a gym or a baby room?" And he's like, "Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why does my wife want to have children with me?" And he's like, "Look, we're almost ready to talk about it, okay? Things to remember. The smoking and that they're renovating the house." Now we move on to Gigi and Janine out on happy hour, and Gigi has a new sense of knowledge and power when talking to men because she's talking to Jared, and Jared is, you know, doing the little flirty flirt, hee hee ha ha, gotta go back to work after happy hour, and he's like, "I'll take your card so I can call you, but also here's my card." And she's just like, "What you're saying is really confusing and unclear. Why don't we just say you call me?" And he's like, "Sure." And you can tell he was trying to palm her off. Again, I really don't care about Drew Barrymore's character Mary, but the TLDR on her is that she is friends with our worstie Anna. She works at an advertising agency with all the gays, and her character, she's kind of there to represent what I think they thought dating would be like in the online sphere, but it's kind of just giving really dated because she's talking about MySpace, voice messaging, iMessaging, like iChatting, like it's just not really giving what they hoped it would give, I think. We then have a very shady bridesmaid fitting dress with Beth and her sisters where they're like, "It's fine that you broke up with Neil. Like, some people never get married. Al Pacino, for example. Never married, happy as a clam." And then her sister does this. I think that's meant to be a clam. And they're basically just like, "No, it's totally fine that you're in your 30s and single and you broke up with Neil even though he said he would never marry you." And her sisters are basically shady little haters who better watch their back because we stand Beth. Now, unfortunately, it keeps getting worse in the Ben and Anna storyline department because now Anna is in his office and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I swear I didn't call you over for false pretenses. I did have a list of contacts for you." And she's like, "Well, you know, a girl can dream." And then he's like, and you're like, "Hate it here." And she's like, "Why are you married? No, seriously, tell me why. So I think it would help me understand." And then Ben is a huge flop. Congratulations, you have won flop of the century for this response because he's like, "She gave me an ultimatum." Okay, flop, way to convince this woman that she shouldn't be interested in you and that you're in love with your wife. white man. And then he's basically just like, you're really hot. And you're just like, oh, he's really bad. What? Now, if I were being more English teachery about this, I'd be making comparisons with Janine finding cigarettes and the progression of Ben and Anna's relationship, but I just feel like I'm not that girly pop. But I feel like it is important to note that Janine, after the scene, finds cigarettes in their house when Ben, as we know, said he promised he wouldn't smoke anymore. So that's suspicious. That's weird. Now we have a little bit of growth in our bestie Gigi, because as she is taping back up that business card that Flop gave her at happy hour, she's like, no, I'm not going to call him. I'm going to call Alex. And she tells him the situation and he's like, ugh, no, he's clearly not interested in you. And he's like, let me guess. He said the only thing happy about this hour is you. And she was like, something to that effect. And basically he's like, don't call him. He's not interested. And she's like, thank you. Now, I wish I had good news for you, but unfortunately, again, it is getting worse and worse out here with Anna and Ben, because Ben is at her yoga class. Yeah, I don't know if I told you guys this, but Anna is also a yoga teacher as well as an aspiring singer. He went to her yoga class. And not only that, but then they're just hanging out alone afterwards by the swimming pools. And this is where we get some offensive dialogue, because they're just like, why can't we be friends? And then Anna says, why can't I be friends with you? Blah, 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 blah. Or because you have an ass that makes me want to dry hump. That line made me want to dry heave. Offensive. He's like, did you just say dry hump? I think I just fell in love. And then they shake hands and they're like, so we're friends? And then Anna does the most diabolical thing yet, which is goes completely naked into the pool. And she's like, you want to join me? And he's like, no, I don't trust myself. And then she's like, that's okay, you can just watch. And then he's like, you may be the best friend I've ever had. I hate it here. Like I said again with the smoking and the parallels between the Anna and Ben relationship, when Ben gets home from these silly little escapades, Janine confronts him about the cigarette pack she found. And once again, Ben's like, no, why would you say that? There's so many construction workers here. I think it's just because you're so stressed about the renos. And she's like, oh yeah, sorry. She says sorry to him. I hate it here. We then have Ben going to visit Neil because Neil is staying on a yacht. He's shaking his ass on a yacht. No, he has a yacht, I guess, and that is where he's staying since the breakup. And so Ben's like, oh, yeah, I was coming to check on you. They're basically talking about marriage, and then Ben's like, ugh, no guy ever wants to get married. And if they tell you they do, all they're really thinking about is all of the women that they won't get to hook up with. And Neil's like, well, I don't want to hook up with anyone else but Beth. I just can't do the marriage thing. And Ben's like, oh, yeah, right, yeah. Well, yes, I am definitely happily married, so slay. Anyway, hee hee hee. Now, to add insult to injury for Beth, we are at her, sister's wedding rehearsal dinner night. I don't know, but their obnoxious cousin Jay is giving a speech, and look, I'm not saying that the actresses that played Jennifer Aniston's sisters aren't beautiful and slay, because they are. However, they're expecting us to believe that Jennifer Aniston is an older model sister and that everyone was actually obsessed with her younger sisters. Speak for yourself, cousin Jay. Anyway, Beth is really getting attacked and for no good reason. Now, the next part of the movie, Alex actually offers to set Gigi up on a date with one of his brother's friends, Bill, because he feels bad for all these series of unfortunate events that she's having where she keeps hooking up with guys that couldn't care less about her. So he's like, I know a guy, his name's Bill. And he's like, we can all have drinks together, except Alex, silly goose, mixed up Tuesday and Thursday. So now it's just Alex and Gigi having drinks together. And apparently it's Alex's TED Talk or something, because he just starts saying and doing anything. He just really starts speaking out of his ass. This part didn't age the best, because he's like, you girls just love the drama. That's why you're obsessed with these guys and you think about all of these things, because girls love the drama. But it's true, because Alex does call out the fact that Gigi was obsessing over Connor when the date was mediocre at best. I guess he did eat and leave no crumbs. I don't know what to tell you. Now I need to set the scene for you guys, because the song You Make It Real for Me is playing when it is revealed to us that Ben and Anna had sex. Yep, confirmed terrible people. And what? We're supposed to accept it because they're super into each other? And now I feel like this is probably the only time I can point this out as a petty B, because like, yeah, Anna did just sleep with a married man, but Anna does have some bad hair extensions in this movie, and I don't know, do with that info what you will. Now things are really moving along with Alex and Gigi, because Alex calls her on a Saturday night and invites her to a party he's having. Innocent enough, he's like, I'll help you with any hot single guys that are at the party. Bill will be there. And she's like, huh, yeah, okay, cool. And then she's watching some old movie, I think it's called Some Kind of Wonderful, something like that. She's like, oh my gosh, she has a bad idea. This is a bad idea, right? Okay, it's fine. She thinks that Alex has a crush on her. A big, fat crush. And unfortunately, I think Gigi may be using some funky ass math, because she has assumed that Bill doesn't exist, and therefore those drinks was a ruse, and Bill is a ruse. Now I will admit, I'm really not telling you much, if anything, of Mary's storyline, but we do get a funny little interlude, which I feel like it's kind of like a comedic icebreaker, where she is kind of like online dating this guy, and he leaves her a message, and he's a singer, by the way, and he's like, oh Mary, oh Mary, 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 oh my Mary. Hey, it's Jude, blah, 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 blah. And she's listening to this at work with the gays, and they're all like, oh my God, yes, slay, love that for you. Jude sounds like a keeper. And whilst they're all obsessing over this man's little voice message, we get the next voice message playing, which is Jenny. Oh, Jenny, Jenny, Jenny.
Oh shit, what number did I just...
So, unfortunately, Mary is in her flop era, and I feel like she would maybe be partially comforted to know that in 2024 we just have one phone again. I mean, within the phone there's lots of apps and lots of different ways of dating, but at least it's just the one phone, you know? So, I don't know, maybe she'd like to know that. Now, shit is really hitting the fan with Ben and Janine, because they are in Home Depot, where Ben successfully tricks her into thinking laminate is real wood, and she's like, I just don't like it when it pretends to be something it's not. Just be what you are. And then Ben's like, I slept with someone. And she's like, did you tell me this in Home Depot because you know I hate public scenes? And he's like, what? No. And then she's like, it's you that's been smoking too, hasn't it? And he's like, no. And then because Ben is an absolute piece of trash coward, he's like, Neil said I can stay on his boat. And she's like, what? You're leaving me too? And he's like, I just assumed that you wouldn't want to be together. No, Ben is a coward and hoped that the women in his life would decide for him, that revealing the truth would decide for him, so he wouldn't have to leave Janine. She would leave him. But she's like, don't you want to work through this? And he's like, yeah. And so, no, he just stays with her. But does he have any intentions of not seeing Anna anymore? I guess we'll see. Now, I feel like they're really making Beth go through the trenches right now, because at her sister's wedding, they make her walk their dog down the aisle and then also set her up on a date with a Wiccan, Brother Phoenix East horse to be exact. And then her father has a heart attack. So, yeah, Beth is really going through it. Like, has she not been through enough? Do not do that to my bestie. Now, I feel like I must set the scene that Alex's party is possibly the most 2009 party you could ever imagine. Because If I Never See Your Face Again by Maroon 5 is playing, and the outfits are giving 2009 You Better Work Bitch. And unfortunately, Gigi has no chill because she thinks this is a date. She bumps into the gays that Mary works with, and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I hate it when you don't know like what you are yet. Like, are you friends? Should you have brought a friend? Are you co-hosting? Now, this unfortunately leads to a couple more series of unfortunate events, because Bill once again couldn't come to the party. But not only that, Alex asked Gigi to help him with the party because it's busier than he expected. He has to go do a liquor run. Not a liquor run, a liquor run. Don't judge my accent like that, okay? Anyway, so Gigi's like, so like co-hosting, and Gigi did understand the assignment when it came to co-hosting, because she slayed. Everyone's like, oh my God, thank you for hosting us. And she's like, when Alex said we should throw a party, I was like, let's do it. And she ends up staying till after 3 a.m. cleaning up, whilst Alex is up to absolutely no good business playing Xbox with some tall, beautiful model girl who's like, oh my gosh, is it past 3 a.m? I better go. So finally, Alex and Gigi are alone. And instead of being normal and being like, hey, am I picking up a vibe here? Like, what's going on? She literally throws herself on him. And this is when it's a bit tricky. Because, yeah, I am a Gigi stan, but like, that was a bit much. And Alex freaks out at her. Like, this is a very immature response, but he's like, why would you do that? Why would you read into things that aren't happening? I told you, guys will ask you out if they're interested in you. And then she's like, because I'd rather be like that than be like you. And then they have this big confrontation and she calls him out and then leaves. If you thought it was bad for Janine, it's about to get worse. So the day starts off like this. Janine confesses to Gigi that it's her fault that Ben cheated on her because they never have eggs anymore. Like, never. And it's her fault, apparently. She used to be fun and now she's not fun. And yeah, I feel like Ben does have a PhD in gaslighting because he really had Janine thinking it was her fault. And so Janine's like, this tile is too small. I gotta go. I need to take a personal day. It's not really about the tile, but she just needed a reason to get out of work. And so unfortunately, what happens next is going to upset you. Are you ready? Me neither. So Ben and Anna are coming from some sort of tape showing of her singing. I don't know. I still don't know what Ben does for a living. It was a great success. And they are literally holding hands in his office and like hee hee ha ha flirting, touching. And they go into his office where he locks the door and they start bounce chicka wow wow, you know? And I remember watching this when I was younger, just being like, okay, first off, disgusting. But second off, why is she wearing a pink underdress under this like mustardy yellow overdress? Like, it just, this outfit doesn't make sense to me. It confused me then, it confused me now. Anyway, back to the story. Ben and Anna are getting jiggy with it, and then there's a knock at the door. It's not Dana. It's Janine. It's not his receptionist. It's Janine. Janine is outside that door and they were literally about to start na 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 na. Ben, like the absolute king he is, shuts Anna in the closet of his office, quickly puts himself back together and lets Janine in. And Janine is there to seduce him because she's really trying. She's trying to get the spark back. And he's literally like, what are you doing? Like, he's like literally so confused and disgusted that she's trying to... And so he's like, look, I'm really busy with work. Like, you gotta go. She's like, I'm really trying here. Like, do you want to save our marriage? And he's like, of course. You dumb. I'm surprised Anna didn't bust out of that closet right then and there, but somehow she doesn't. But the minute Janine leaves, yeah, she's pissed. And she's like, you will never touch me again. Now, for some reason, she didn't put the yellow dress back on top of the pink dress, so she just leaves in the pink dress. I don't know. Now we catch back up with Alex, and him and Karma do not vibe like that. Karma is collecting with Alex because he is all over the place. He is messing up in the meeting left and right. He is all over the show. He can't get his silly goofy thoughts together. And Kellyanne calls him out and is like, oh my God, who's the girl? And yeah, she's right, because he's literally, all he can think about is Gigi. And not until Kellyanne's like pointing it out to him right in front of his face that does he realize that he has a big fat crush on Gigi. Whilst simultaneously, Bill actually does exist, and yeah, he asked Gigi on a date and she says yes because she's cutting out the drama. She's going with the nice guy. Now, like I said before, when Anna is upset, she goes crying to Connor, and this time it's dire. Yeah, she's in a desperate state, and so she literally agrees to being in a relationship with him. Oh, it's not good, guys. And he literally, it's you're so uncomfortable. Like, it's so real because they hook up, and then that night he's literally like koala bear attached to her, spooning her, and you can just see the regret, the hello darkness, my old friend. She's not feeling it. Now, unfortunately for Beth, she has been in the trenches this whole movie and remains in the trenches because she is looking after her father after his heart attack all by herself. All of her other sisters' husbands are being useless POSs, and they are drinking all their beer, eating all the food, not helping with the shopping, not helping with the cleaning. Like, they're literally just sitting on the couch being trash. Like, you're trash. And so she's literally running around the house, cleaning everything up, and she sees Neil in the kitchen. He did the shopping. He cleaned up. He put the washing on. He knew what she needed. For that, we have to give it to Neil. He is a real one. Now we go over to Janine, where she comes into her house fully renovated. Again, if I was an English major girly, like I could give you more symbolisms about it, but I can't, so I won't. But anyway, she is, you know, settling into this newly renovated house that she's going to start her life with Ben, and she's kind of cleaning up, putting things away, and she picks up some of Ben's laundry, and what falls out? But a pack of cigarettes. And that is when Janine finally realizes that Ben is a liar. Shit! Yeah, he is. And so she smashes a mirror, immediately cleans it back up. It finally dawns on her. And then we cut to the most, do you get deja vu? Because Alex is acting just like Gigi was in the beginning of this movie, and he leaves her the most cringy, awkward voice message being like, oh, hey, I was trying to get in touch with you, but you're out, like, call me. It's embarrassing. Yeah, it is. Now, I'm happy to say that I'm starting to have good news for you guys, because Beth goes to Neil's yacht and she gets him back, baby, because he is more of a husband than any of her sister's husbands ever will be. That was a mouthful, but that's pretty much what she said. And she's like, as long as you promise to love me, to commit to me, to get my hair out of the drain, I want to be with you forever too. We don't need to get married. But those boat pants that you're wearing, they can't come back with you because they are ratty and nasty and have way too many pockets. This is important and will be on the test. Now, unfortunately, Connor has zero chill. I assume that he is a water sign because I assume like a couple of days or a week has gone by at this point, and he takes Anna to see a townhouse that he wants to buy for their future. Not for the right now future, but he's like, I see this for us. I see this for our lives, but I don't want to buy it if you don't want to be with me. That's when it dawns on her, like, this man is down bad and she needs to stop using him. So she's like, I can't. They do have like a nice kind of wholesome goodbye. Thank gosh. Like, it was kind of necessary for Connor to be so crazy so that Anna could realize, like, she can't just string this man along like that. Like, he's literally thinking about buying a house for them. Janine and Karma vibe like that because Ben gets home to their newly renovated townhouse where all of his trash, all of his clothes, all of his things are neatly piled up on the stairs, and what's on the top of them but a box of cigarettes, or is it called a carton, like the big one? And it says, knock yourself out. P.S. I want a divorce. Janine deserves better, and thank goodness she's getting rid of him. Like, get out, leave right now. Like, if that was playing in the background, that would have made it the most slay. Don't worry, guys, we're nearly there. Everything is getting wrapped up. Nicely for the besties, not so nicely for the worsties. So, we have Bill walking Gigi to her door saying that he had a lovely time. They say goodbye, they hug. It's cordial. He's nice. He's giving nice guy vibes, but in a genuine and sincere way. And then we have a... She thinks it's Bill. Nay, it's Alex. With... If you said a pen, you get an A+. You got a good score on the quiz. Yep. Alex pulls out a pen and he said, I just figured I needed a great excuse to come over here. He's telling her that he's so stupid and he can't believe he didn't see it right along when he fell for someone because he was so guarded for so long. And Gigi's like, no, I need to listen to this person that gave me all of those advice, and I have to stop hoping that people will change. And I just went on a date with Bill and he does all those things. He says all the right things. And Alex is like, I can do that too. And she's like, but you didn't. And then they kiss. Don't scream yet. Don't cry yet because this is the best bit of dialogue in this whole movie. Are you ready? Already have chills. Gigi says, I'm the exception. And then Alex says, you're my exception. Oh my god, literally full body chills, sick and twisted. I love it so much. Now, once again, sorry to do Mary so dirty, but I just don't care. But basically, I hate the end of her story. I hate it so much. TLDR, Mary is at a cafe. She's looking at the ad that she did for Connor. She looks up. Connor's sitting 2 seats away. She calls him and she's like, hey, love the ad. And he's like, oh, you don't think the muscle tee is too much? She's like, it's nice, but I think what you're wearing looks better now. Something like that. And he's like, oh my gosh, hey. And then he's like, invites her over and they hang out. Again, I couldn't care less. Anyway, we now have my second favorite part of this whole movie. So Neil is moving back in. They're just putting away his final things. And then what does Beth find? His ratty, tatty, too many pocketed pants. And she's like, you are not trying to get these back in here. And he's like, well, maybe just first check the pockets. Make sure there's nothing valuable in there. She pulls out a ring box, opens it, there's an engagement ring. Turns around and then Neil is on his knee asking her to marry him. Beth and Karma do vibe like that and we love that for them. Literally died dead on the floor. And then that's basically the end of the movie. We have Gigi narrating us out and these are kind of the sleigh notes. Beth and Neil get married on his yacht. And then we have Mary deleting her online profile because she's now with Connor. He's already saying the L word. In this outro, it's kind of like it's turning more mockumentary because they're kind of interviewing everyone, seeing how they are and what they're doing. And we then cut to Anna, who is sad singing in some sort of pub. We have Ben in that same supermarket buying beer, still letting hot women go in front of him in line. We have Janine unpacking in her new apartment and yeah, she's entering her I don't give a fuck sleigh era. You can just feel it. And then the kind of final part to this movie, which really makes me laugh, is Gigi is obviously narrating, but then we cut to her and she's in the kitchen of Alex's apartment mixing dip and daydreaming. And he's like, Gigi, we gotta go. We're about to win. And they're playing some sort of charades game. And this is literally how the dialogue goes. This is Alex. Ready? LOL. And then Gigi's like, laugh out loud. We won! And then that's the movie. We do get a couple of extra fun kind of interviewee mockumentary style interviews with each of the kind of main characters. But yeah, that's kind of it. That is He's Just Not That Into You. I hope you guys enjoyed this absolutely chaotic and unhinged ride that we just went on, because I certainly did. I hope you guys seriously enjoyed it, and if you did, please let me know other movies you would love me to chaotically and unhingedly recap. I would love to know. But yes, that is He's Just Not That Into You, and the movie that made me the chaotic girly pop you have before you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you stayed till the end, you are a real one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to keep up with me between my uploads, I'm on TikTok and Instagram. And I will link my vlog channel down below. But don't you worry, guys, because I'm not funny there either. Bye!